This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Salvete, meine Freunde! Ich begrüße euch zu einem neuen Projekt. Und zwar, wie man es bereits gelesen hat, The Stanley Parable. Eine meiner Lieblingsspiele. Warum ist es eins meiner Lieblingsspiele? Einfach, weil es nicht ist wie die anderen. Es ist ziemlich einzigartig. Warum, werdet ihr gleich sehen. Es ist ein kurzes Spiel, das habe ich mir extra deshalb ausgesucht, weil ich jetzt vorhabe, zwischen jedem größeren Projekt, ich hatte ja jetzt Mirror's Edge, auch was Kleineres mal reinzuschieben. Und ich finde, das passt sehr gut. Das schaffen wir jetzt mal in einer Woche. 7 Parts würde ich hierfür...
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
Jetzt habe ich den Faden verloren. Jedenfalls spielen wir dieses Spiel innerhalb jetzt einer Woche durch.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Und ich muss schon zugleich sagen, ich werde weniger Sprachanteil haben als der Sprecher in dem Spiel, weil der Sprecher eins der Hauptelemente ist. Wir werden nämlich die ganze Zeit begleitet von... Ich warte die ganze Zeit, dass ich unterbrochen werde. Wir werden die ganze Zeit begleitet von einem Erzähler und der sagt uns, was wir zu tun haben, denn er ist der Erzähler dieser Geschichte und wir sind nur der Protagonist. Jetzt laufen wir durch ein Büro und suchen unsere Kollegen.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja, wir könnten jetzt die Tür links nehmen, wir könnten auch die Tür rechts nehmen. Aber der liebe nette Mann hat links gesagt, also würde ich sagen, gehen wir mal durch die linke Tür. Die Tür schließt sich hinter uns, kein Zurückkommen. Und schon sind wir im Meetingraum.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Jetzt fragt man sich bestimmt, als jemand, der das Spiel nicht kennt, warum ist das so interessant, jetzt einem Typen, also das zu machen, was er von einem verlangt, und das ohne irgendwelche besonderen Action-Sachen. Ich kann nämlich nichts aufheben, ich kann nicht hüpfen, ich kann mich ducken, das ist alles. Und ich kann laufen. Und wenn ich klicke, hört man Geräusche von einer Tastatur. Das sind alle meine Fähigkeiten. Aber ihr werdet sehen, warum man das gerne macht, weil es einfach lustig ist.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So wie gerade eben mit den Türen auch, können wir jetzt nach unten gehen oder nach oben. Aber wir befolgen einfach mal das, was er sagt. Das Spiel baut einfach darauf, dass man das Spiel öfters durchspielt, das werdet ihr sehen. Hallo, Frau Sekretärin, sind Sie nicht da? Jo. Die 2 Telefone. Boah, geil. Ja, jedenfalls.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Ja, wenn ich das nicht wusste. Ich finde, der Sprecher hat übrigens einen wunderschönen englischen Akzent.
Stanley just sat around
bleibt mir auch nichts anderes übrig.
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ja eben, ich weiß es ja nicht. Soll ich den Code jetzt eingeben oder nicht?
2845.
2845.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Natürlich haben wir das jetzt alles vollkommen durch Zufall herausgefunden. Gut. Dann geht's schon ins nächste Kapitel des Spiels. Kam jetzt nicht ein Ladescreen? Doch, jetzt kam ein Ladescreen. Ich lüge doch nicht. Es ist schwer, sowas zu kommentieren, muss ich schon zugeben, weil man ist ja der Kommentierte. Und das ist definitiv eine Umstellung, aber ist eine interessante Herausforderung.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Man merkt jedenfalls, der Erzähler lenkt die Geschichte in eine sehr dramatische.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Ja, das Ganze wird relativ dramatisch aufgezogen, wie man auch allein schon an der Aufmachung des Spieles erkennen kann.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Tja, wer von euch hat sich gemerkt, in welchem Zimmer wir waren?
Now the monitors jumped to life.
Ich hab's
Their
nicht
true
getan.
nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Ich meine, wir waren irgendwo was mit
The lives of
200?
so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them.
Ich weiß nur, dass wenn man den richtigen
eternally
Bildschirm hat, man
monitored in
auch
this
weiß,
place
wo man...
where freedom meant nothing.
Die Nummern werden ab und an so eingeblendet, darauf achte ich gerade. Kommt schon. Alter, das ist... 427 waren wir, ne? Ja, guck mal an, da geradeaus, das ist unser Büro. Und hier arbeiten scheinbar irgendwelche bösartigen Genies, um unsere Gedanken zu manipulieren. Weil sonst wäre das hier ja nicht das Gedankenmanipulationscenter.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Wir haben eine Aufgabe. Wir müssen unsere Kollegen befreien, die zwar irgendwie eh schon alle abgehauen sind, aber wir sind ein guter Stanley, ein Stanley mit Rückgrat, was sich gegen das System aufwählt. Und wir schalten es natürlich ab.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp?
Ich habe mich damals gefragt, warum wächst das? Oder das ist einfach nur der Schatten.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this
Ich bin
mattered
ein
to
sehr
him.
intelligenter Junge, ich
For it
weiß.
was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed
Ist
to
das
know.
nicht wunderschön?
It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Wenn die Tür dann ganz offen ist, ich kann ja nicht hüpfen.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Und war ich nicht fröhlich, hübschlich, fröhlich. Tja. Wir haben das Spiel durchgespielt, dann haben wir jetzt ja alles erledigt. Die anderen Türen, die waren ja scheinbar, die hatten ja nichts zu bedeuten. Aber dennoch befinden wir uns schon wieder in unserem Büro. 427. Wir müssen also...
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Tja gut, dann versuchen wir einen anderen Weg. Ich glaube, einen kriegen wir noch hin in dieser Folge. Und ihr habt gesehen, sagen wir so, die Wege dieses Spiels sind sehr verzweigt. Wir hätten jetzt nach rechts gehen können. Wir gehen allerdings wieder nach links. Es ist nämlich dann immer sinnvoll, das von hinten zu umgehen. Und dann... Ja, da war keine einzige Person. Hast du vollkommen recht.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ja, beruhig dich, ich mach schon. Nur keine Sorge.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be
Schade, ich dachte, ich wäre voll cool, aber ich hatte nicht mehr ganz
This
im
was
Kopf.
too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor, he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. But when at last he began to move about and survey the situation, he found a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could it mean? Was it a sign of hope for Stanley's future? Alas, it was not. For although this keypad guarded the terrible secret of Stanley's past, It had been assigned a 4-digit code so devious and so random that no man could ever hope to guess it. 2845. Statistically, nearly impossible to guess blindly, ever.
Man merkt schon, der Mann hat verschiedene Texte drauf. Das Ganze ist auch schön abwechslungsreich gestaltet. 2, 8, 4, 5.
Stanley just sat, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Na gut, dann gehen wir ins nächste Kapitel wieder. Oder sagen wir es so, wir überwinden den Ladescreen. Der ja zum Glück nicht lange dauert.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Noch eine Abzweigung, die gehen wir auch noch. Keine Sorge.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Oh, das kennen wir ja jetzt, ne?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Warum leuchtet die Kiste grün? Und warum ist das gespiegelt? Was ist hier nur los? Machen wir es weiter auf die Reise. Das kennen wir ja schon, haben wir ja gerade eben erst gesehen. Okay, was noch schwerer ist als ein...
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Was ich sagen wollte, das Einzige, was schwerer ist, als ein Spiel zu kommentieren, was sich selber kommentiert...
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's
control. Ist es etwas zu kommentieren, was man erst vor 5 Minuten kommentiert hat.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ja gut. Na dann, drücken wir mal den Ausschalter. Oh nein!
Oh, Stanley.
Nein,
You
ich hab
just
dich
activate the
verdrückt.
controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted?
Kontrolle!
Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off.
Grün ist die Farbe der Hoffnung.
Moments each one of them is. More time to talk about
Grün.
you,
Oh nein, der will, dass ich
me,
gelb drücke.
where we're going. What all
Ich will
this
nach Hause.
means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better.
Okay, ich schalte das Ding aus.
Only
Ist okay.
34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this
Oder?
so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock.
Na gut, er gibt mir extra Zeit, dann versuche ich doch weiter.
These are precious additional seconds,
3.
Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Wir haben schon die 1, die 2 und die 3 gedrückt.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen
Knöpfe
to
drücken
screen,
ist mein Job.
clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button.
Da drüben ist die
or this
5.
door.
Ja, gut.
Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Warum
But
ist
here's
der
a
so
spoiler.
böse?
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's
Ich habe alle
just
Knöpfe
seconds
gedrückt.
ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing.
Whoa.
Ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable.
Nein!
From the
Ich
moment
will
I
das
begin
nicht!
until the moment I say happily ever after.
Der Sprecher wird ganz schön stinkig, wenn man nicht auf ihn hört. Tja, Leute, habt ihr gesehen, in einem Part der schmale Grat zwischen Freiheit und Explosionen liegt daran, drückt man an oder aus Schalter. Bester Satzbau, ich weiß. Jedenfalls, wir werden in den nächsten Folgen noch weitere Wege erkunden und ich hoffe, euch macht das Projekt Spaß. Wenn es euch gefallen hat, lasst eine Bewertung da. Wenn nicht, dann auch. Sagt mir, was ich besser machen könnte. Das war's schon. Na dann, wir hören uns, wir sehen uns. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao.